How's everyone enjoying the event so far? Positive. So, Jen, did we get the video for you, Jenny, on the hand raise? Okay, all right. So thanks, everyone. We know we're standing in between you and lunch, so a dangerous spot to be in, but we'll try and make it interesting and informative. And if you have questions, we'll stick around for a few minutes afterwards. Happy to take those if you're not in a rush to head off. I'm Dave Feinleib, founder and CEO of It's Rapid, and I'm thrilled to be here today with Nicolai Soendergaard. Nicolai, thanks for taking the time to be here.
Absolutely. Happy to always partner with you, Dave. And Nicolai, Newell brands, for those of you that don't know you or know us. Car seats, pens, tents, you name it, we probably manufacture it. So anyway, back to you, Dave.
I love it. So Nicolai, thanks for taking the time to share some insights today. We're doing some really interesting work together that we're going to be talking with you about. I wanted to start with some shameless self-promotion here to get that part out of the way. I've got some quotes from Dave Novak and Rob Gonzalez from Salsify to talk about our partnership. We help brands and retailers build various forms of customer-facing content, whether that's images, videos, product detail page content, heroes. We even do product photography, and our latest offering, which is sell sheets, which are great for sales enablement. Now, we started off as a project with PepsiCo, and that's because we like to start small here at It's Rapid. And we've been really, really fortunate to add a number of really incredible brands like Newell and many other brands and retailers as clients and partners. And we're going to be talking about some real-world use cases with Nicolai today. So I'm really excited to share that with you. Nicolai, before we get started here, I thought with a few of our close friends in the audience, I could share the story of how we met.
Go for it.
All right. So I got this text message from Mike Geller, who's the Chief Digital Officer at Newell Brands, and the text went something like, "Dave, we need to talk." Now, I don't know about you, but when you get a text message like that, my heart kind of stopped for a few seconds. I took a few breaths and I thought, uh-oh, I don't know what's coming next. So Mike comes over, he sits down, and he says, and Mike's not much for small talk. He's going to get right down to business. He says, "Dave, I've only got 10 minutes. And I thought, 10 minutes? This is the best day of my life. How much bad news can you give me in 10 minutes? I'm saved. I'm ready to roll." So this was a great moment. Mike then says, "There's a guy I want you to meet on my team. He's smart, he's a visionary, and I think," he says this to me, he says, "I think the two of you can do some really incredible work together." And this is really incredible coming from Mike. So he set a high bar, and I got to tell you that you and the team have just pushed us and punched way, way above that bar, and I'm just really grateful for all the great work that we're able to do together. So that's my embarrassing story. Embarrassing stories out of the way. I really appreciate it, and excited to be talking with you about some real-world use cases.
Setting the bar really high here, Dave, but yeah.
I try, you know. So content creation, we've heard about this for a long time. We kind of think about quality, about speed, and of course about cost effectiveness. And I've got a few visuals to help us out here, but one of the cases I wanted to talk with you about is product copy and title optimization. Will you tell us sort of what's going on there? Why is this interesting? And what's the challenge and the opportunity here?
Absolutely. So I think one of the things, we heard a little bit from the main stage, right? AI is the buzzword, AI is everywhere. But so one of the things we want to try to figure out is how do we actually leverage it now in more of what I would call micro use cases that can actually help drive some material value to the business tomorrow, right? And one of those areas is, given that they are called large language models, was let's figure out how we use it on copy, right? Because it is a language-driven asset, if you will, right? One of the issues we've had as a company, which I presume many of you can probably relate to, is we're a large-scale manufacturer, general merchandise manufacturer that has, call it 20,000 plus SKUs in our portfolio. Like, we cannot staff a team large enough to maintain, optimize, and candidly compete with particularly insurgent brands across our categories who are just beating us on the nimbleness, the ability to change fast, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the things we kind of came to David was like, hey, we got to find a solution where we can not only rewrite copy based on trends we're either getting from our sentiment analyses, from customer feedback, et cetera, et cetera. We also got to find a way to do this building or leveraging keyword research based on what's actually beating us on the Amazons, the Walmarts, et cetera, live site today. So conduct the keyword research along with rewriting the copy. If you were to think about it, like, there's really, two barriers, right? One is like, well, if we got to do this through traditional ways of working, we would have to staff copywriters, right? And, we're a public company. You can just go check out the Newell brand share price. We've been through a rough couple of years, right? So we can't just go and hire a bunch of resources. We have to get more scrappy. And that's where, there's this whole idea of like, we got to find a way to rewrite copy, not just, again, for the Amazons and Walmarts. There's folks in the room here from my team that support all our grocery customers. We got to find a way to scale this across the realm. So anyway, so that's what we've been on this journey on, is like, how do we take thousands of SKUs, pump them through keyword research with, quote unquote, the click of a button, right? And then ultimately pipe it back into eventually what will be our Salsify instance, right? And then through to syndicated to our retail partners. Yeah.
It's a great area. What you talked about how you would do this traditionally, I would say. When you apply automation and AI, what's the ROI? What do you see changing in efficiency or performance or other metrics?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it's a little subjective in some way, right? But if you think about the way I think most companies traditionally would write copy or rewrite copy for that matter, right? You typically have like a SEMrush or whatever, all these different keyword research engines are called. You'd conduct your keyword research, which alone would be a task that could take minutes or 10, 15 minutes per SKU, you name it, right? Then you have to then marry it to your portfolio, right? Like, well, which SKUs is this applicable to? Where do I want to optimize? And then you can then actually write the copy or rewrite the copy. So I'd say, call it 80 to 90% less time spent to actually generate some of this stuff than I think what we might have been used to in the past. It's still early stages, but I think there's a lot of room to improve now as it relates to. So one thing is creating it. The next phase is then how do we then feed it back into our master data or central repositories to kind of start pushing it and syndicating it out more consistently to all our customers, right? To create that cohesive experience.
Love it. How are the results?
So far, I'd say it's pretty good. I think there's still a little bit of hesitation sometimes around, we do still have, clear it's not fully automated, right? We do still have a human that looks at the end result to make sure we're not making bogus claims or, whatever the engine might come up with. But so far, it's been pretty consistent that we haven't seen any major issues in terms of, embedding keywords that are completely not related to our category or inappropriate for our categories. Because we do operate in very sensitive categories like car seats, right? We got to be very careful what we claim in that space, right? Because there's all kinds of legal regulations and lawsuits that could follow, right? If we don't kind of protect ourselves. So anyway, overall, pretty positive. But more work to be done.
More to come.
Yeah.
What about sales performance? How does that tie back to the work that you're doing?
Yes, I'd say the way we've been testing a lot of that right now is, and I'm sure most folks in this room are somewhat familiar with this, like there's a couple of retailers there's one retailer that enables us to do, I'd say, relatively black and white A/B testing, and it's Amazon, right? Amazon does have an A/B testing engine, so some of the stuff we've been taking the data we've been creating with you guys through have been piping it through some A/B tests on Amazon to actually validate like what is the potential revenue or incremental revenue we can generate as an output of investing in this work. And so far, I'd say it's not necessarily that we're going to become billionaires on one SKU, but doing this across the entire portfolio does add a 20, 30K, right, incremental here and there, which again, when you have a machine doing it, and it doesn't matter if you're doing it for 5 SKUs or 1,000 SKUs, it becomes worth the time, right?
I love it. Well, thanks for sharing that. Now, I may have detected a little bit of an accent in your speech.
Maybe
there.
a little bit. I'm working on it.
Okay, and I believe that you have a pretty interesting story before I go to this next use case about where you grew up. The way I think about it is you were basically destined to go into Omni and e-com. You grew up in Denmark, and will you share with our audience a little about exactly where you grew up?
So I like to say I was born in Legoland in Billund. I wish I was associated with the family behind Lego, but then I probably wouldn't be here today. I'd probably be on an island somewhere. But so anyway, yeah. So born and raised in Denmark. For those that aren't super familiar with the European location of that tiny country, we're just north of Germany. And yeah, grew up working in Legoland, and ultimately made my professional career debut at Lego, the toy manufacturer. Also, yeah.
I love it. So you ran the Amazon business for Lego.
Yes.
You went to Kellogg and was director of Omnichannel, e-com there, and now at Newell. This is kind of a great path. You've gotten to see a lot of these different businesses. The next one I want to talk about here is images. So we kind of talked about product copy. When you think about images, this is a case where we're taking individual product shots and doing something really interesting to put them together in different forms. Will you talk about kind of, again, what's the challenge here and what are you doing differently now?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think one of the things that I presume a lot of you can probably relate to is, we're obviously being pushed in many directions to sell SKUs, obviously in the base form that they're created in. So an example here for us is Yankee Candle, right? That's one of our brands, where obviously we have content and generally decent content on the individual type of product, right? So if I pick the balsam and cedar, we'll have content 6 ways from Sunday on that one. What we don't typically have is off-the-shelf, let's call it variation type content. So in this particular example, we found a use case that we feel like there is a desire from our consumers, or a sentiment from our consumers, that they want to actually purchase more variety pack type items, which is also heavily relevant in the grocery space. The problem we had is we don't always have that as stock photo, if you will, to kind of create the hero image, the secondary images, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the things we ended up kind of taking to Dave and the team was, how do we kind of create a solution where we can quote unquote pipe you the base assets, and then you can help us sort of reinvent them, if you will, into a multi-pack type imagery, content image, variety pack images, to enable us to go to market faster without, again, having to go back through and create photo shoots, through a legacy agency model, if that makes sense.
It's great. And when you think about metrics that you look at here for images, will you kind of talk a little about how you measure performance in this area?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I wouldn't claim that we're industry leading in this, but I think that this is probably a little more subjective, the way we're measuring it today. I would almost consider this more like I'd say if we did not have this capability, it'd be more a barrier for our ability to actually go to market on some of these, let's call them nuanced SKUs that we're trying to test with our customers. And I think they're becoming even more relevant in today's world, where we're being pushed, by manufacturers, even like Walmart, but also some of the, let's call it the social commerce channels, to have sellable options that are more niche than what you might buy at your traditional store, right? So again, variety packs, different configurations of product, count 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it might be. Again, this solution is kind of enabling us to do that without necessarily having to have thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in agency budgets tied up in designers.
Love it. Well, we love working with you on this one. So product copy, touched on images, and now we're going to talk about a third one here, sell sheets. So this really came out of a conversation that we had last fall and with the Salsify team to think about how can you take content that's in Salsify and turn that into this customer-facing sales content. We take a minute and just talk about what these are and how they're used.
Yeah, it's a good question. I actually think it came up a little bit in the general session earlier. I think there was some talk about, leveraging Salsify catalogs, right, to create more, in a legacy world, particularly, we have a large B2B business as Newell. Let me take a step back, right, where we sell, garbage cans, or if you ever walk through an airport, you'll see Rubbermaid commercial everywhere, right? That's Newell brands. Historically, we relied on physical catalogs, right? That needs to go to thousands of independent field sales reps to go and talk to the customers and sell the product, right? Obviously, there's a cost side to that. You got to print. You could argue there's even an environmental component like the paper you use, et cetera, et cetera. That might be stretching it a little bit, but there's many ways to slice that cat. not sure that's a saying, but anyway, the point is to say, so there's clearly a use case here to kind of leverage the data we have in Salsify, but construct it in a way that feeds different purposes within the organization. An example here for us, and maybe by raise of hands, if you guys are familiar with the category playbook concept, right? A lot of particularly grocery customers do operate in this world where every year the sales team, and we just had ours 2 weeks ago, every sales team gets together and they go through the category playbooks of the upcoming year. So that includes information around what other products we're going to sell next year, what other products we're going to get behind. That stuff is typically done in PowerPoint, right? And it's very time consuming for a brand marketing organization to develop those once and then maintain them throughout the year. And then we have had instances, right, where our customer teams have actually taken this and there've been, I'm making this up, bad dimensions on it. So they've gone to a Costco and tried to sell in a SKU, and there was a slight variance to what had since become the actual final product, because someone happened to forget to update bullet 6 on slide 15, right, for the 6th time, right? So the point is, so we kind of came to David with this idea of like, how do we create this leveraging our Salsify data, but create it in a format that we can fit within these playbooks, right? But we don't have to worry about the constant maintenance of the data because it will be maintained through the source record, whether that's ERP or PIM or whatever, right? So that's kind of a little bit of the origin story behind it.
That's great. And how would you build these by hand, or the legacy way, the traditional way?
So, I'm not the one who does it. So, but anyway, the way we've done is it's a PowerPoint template, very black and white, right? Someone goes to your DAM to find the image, or PXM if you have Salsify, which we of course do. Then you'd go to your ERP and get your whatever dimension. Then you'd get your brand information, like when is this product going to go to market? Like what are the key features and attributes that this product needs, or what the salesperson needs to know to sell the SKU, right? As part of their line review. So you kind of compile it from distinct sources, right? Which is where you kind of introduce a lot of risk and variability in ability to candidly set your sales teams up for a bad sell, right? Yeah.
That's great. Applying automation, tying together when you think about your Salsify data, your brands, of which you have a number in the portfolio, and then the It's Rapid tool set. How do you put all those pieces together to get a kind of an automated work stream?
It's a good question. So I think the way we're looking to build this into, I think the way we create future iterations of our category playbooks in partnership with, in the case of Newell, right, we have a category development department that sits within our sales org. We're looking to effectively, build these particular sheets into, or at least automate the way that the brand teams will be doing it by leveraging the It's Rapid solution. Based on just when new SKUs gets introduced into our portfolio. So again, there'll still be a component of figuring out what is going to go into these playbooks, but the maintenance of them will be automated through the sustainment of your master data, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
Great. So we've touched on 3 great use cases here: product copy and titles, images, and sell sheets. A lot more work that we're doing together. Now, you, of course, have a choice in vendors of who you work with. I'm going to tee up a softball for you here, but what are some of the things that get you excited or interest you in working with a vendor like us?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think I can be pretty brutally honest in saying this. I mean, I've only worked for large organizations, right? And I think the biggest frustration with working for large companies tends to be, we can be a little slow and we can move, be a little clunky at times, right? And, because we have a way of doing things that's been done for 20 or 30 or 40 or 100 some years, right? So I think the exciting thing about working with a partner like Dave and the team is, and I mean this sincerely, is like we will throw a problem over the fence and say, I need you to figure out how to normalize images because I have 100,000 images that my team will have to go do manually right now. And then Dave will say, give me X amount of dollars and I'll do it tomorrow, right? So I think it's that type of partnership where there's a lot of, I think, flexibility in terms of like the problems that we can solve together, which I think is pretty exciting. And it adds immediate, like, again, going back to what we started, right, this idea of like micro use cases that can be applied now, today, tomorrow, without necessarily having the full end-to-end integration completely figured out, I think is critical. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for the partnership and the opportunity. We've just been thrilled to work on these great use cases and to have you push us to do really some really exciting and amazing work. Now, I know you're all headed off to lunch in just a minute. Before you head off, we have a special offer for you. If you want to drop by booth G6, It's Rapid is there. Come by to get a free video, a free image, or a free sell sheet, so you can not only try us out, but get a real-world asset that you can use or use for your sites or your sales team, wherever it might be most helpful. You can also email me, dave@itsrapid.ai. I do respond to all my emails personally, so I will get you set up with a sell sheet, video, or image, or drop by G6. And before I let you head off to lunch, please join me in thanking Nicolai for an incredible presentation today. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Sorry guys, so because the general session let out a little bit later, some people came in later, so we wanted to give our partners some time to do Q&A if you guys had questions. Lunch will start a little bit later, so don't feel like you have to rush down there. But yeah, this is your break time, so feel free to head out or stay for Q&A. And we have a roaming mic here if you have questions. So yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, happy to take questions, or come on up, please. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I think from the 3 cases that you presented, maybe it will be more intimate when everybody left already the room.
Yeah, no problem.
From the 3 cases, the first 2 would imply that there isn't normally somebody creating this content. You mentioned there is somebody internally actually doing that. If I have like fully outsourced the entire process, I have an agency, they would be working with that. How rapid can you make them? Because it's actually, for me, it's fully outsourced. If I just manage the process when I receive it to get it into Salsify and syndicate, and then optimize when needed. So maybe you can speak about a case, maybe it's not this case about Newell, but about a case where you work with an agency.
Yeah, great. What was your name again?
Ilya?
Ilya? Okay, great. Thanks, Ilya. Great question. So we do have a number of customers that have agencies, of course, and we have agencies that use the tool set in-house to speed up their process. The great thing about the platform is anyone can log in who's a licensed user. So if they want to use the tool in-house, share proofs with you, share files with you, that's all built into the creative automation platform. So if you're doing a design for images, or you're reviewing product copy that maybe they ran the workflow for you, but you want to do the final look at it before it goes live, they can just share that and send you the copy. Yeah, we do. We have some large CPGs. I won't name them by name right here, but yeah, they're on the website, and feel free to come by, and we can also show you those. There's also a hybrid model. Some brands will in-house some of the creative workflow, and use the agency for some of the work and the tool set for other pieces. If they've got something quick turn that they want to do, they can do that. So yeah, great question. Thanks for that. Yeah, please. Anyone else? Thank you for that. I forgot to mention that. So yes. Right, yeah, your timing is perfect. So we are a Salsify partner. We use a channel import or a webhook to pull the data in. We do the work. When I say we, I really mean the platform or our managed services team. We offer both, and then the result gets published through an API connection directly back to Salsify. So really, from the user, the customer perspective, it's built in. It's fully integrated. I don't know if there's anything more to maybe add on that, but yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, no, thanks for that. We try and live up to our name, which is It's Rapid, and all jokes aside, it's real time. So as you send in updated data, or we receive it through a call, let's say, we're going to regenerate cell sheets, images, whatever it is. You might have a proofing process potentially, or they'll get published straight back to Salsify or wherever you want to send them. Could be to SharePoint or something else. Yeah, great question. A few minutes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we used to do the work manually, and you kind of go through the process, and it can be frustrating. So, how about this side of the room? I'm hiding. You've been hiding from me behind the stand here. Don't be shy. Any questions we can answer over here? All right, please. Yeah.
So on the cell sheets, what I see, like the example that you showed was really beautiful actually, and I feel like normally when a provider is giving me an option for cell sheets, it's like, it looks worse than the PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
So is it just the copy that's dynamic? Like what elements are dynamic on that cell sheet?
Yeah, it's a great question. I like to think of it as visual mail merge. So we kind of set up the design, and then you've got, in the Newell catalog, you have a number of brands that each have their own logos, fonts, colors, design style, and then the data really comes in and drops in as fields in the design. So,
Is the image dynamic as well? Like if you have like a cropped vector or something like that?
Yeah, it can pull it from a link. You can pull it from files. It supports multiple file formats. So really, whatever you've got, we're going to ingest that. There's some other great capability like background removal, resizing the images to scale them proportionally to fit the space that you have on the cell sheet. So.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would just add to that, I think, and Dave might hate me for saying this, but we obviously have a lot of different brand style guys, right? Because we are, a brand house, right? We've got many brands. We would sell in Dave and the team. We need this particular brand format to fit these general specs, right? So it matches the format of the playbook, right? And so far, I think we've been pretty good in getting that back in the format we require.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Please. Oh.
Sales sheets are customizable.
Exactly. Yeah, customizable. Often a customer will send us a reference example or examples. We'll do the initial designs for you in the tool, but you or your team can also come in and make design adjustments yourself if you'd like. So really dynamic. Everything's configurable. The whole design, and we have customers doing PDFs, doing PowerPoint slides. So the neat thing is once you have it set up, maybe you have a bunch of different formats that you want to do. Yeah.
Is there any templates in InDesign?
We don't do them in InDesign directly, so we basically export, at least not yet. We might add that, but we basically export either layered files or PowerPoints, PDFs, PSDs, which can then be imported into InDesign.
Any issues with resolution on PowerPoint?
No, as long as we get, I'd say that the biggest thing is making sure we have high quality imagery coming in. For the exports, we really dial in like the PPI for the dots per inch, the color settings, all of those things. The biggest thing is just making sure that you have high quality photography to embed in the pages. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, follow-up question.
Please.
And when it exports that asset, are we getting multiple versions that are maintained? So say I have one this is my Walmart cell sheet.
Yeah, right.
This is my
Yeah, exactly. You can do that in a few ways. You can have the data feed come in and generate Walmart specific. We also have language transformations using AI, optional, but they're there. You can use that to shorten the text or change the tone or how it's written. We have customers that are doing multi-language now, so they might have 7 different languages for that product. We're going to generate 7 cell sheets using the same design, look and feel, but it's going to be in these 7 languages.
just put it right back into the DAM and
Exactly, yeah. It publishes back to an attribute or a field in Salsify, or it can be done in bulk if you want to drop it to a web server or something like that. Yeah, great questions. Please. Yeah, so copy we usually take from the copy that's in Salsify. Sometimes you'll see in the copy that maybe you want to shorten it up for marketing or change the wording or something like that. Maybe it came from a technical spec and you want it to have more of a marketing feel to it. So we have some text transformations, but typically we're just taking copy and other data that's in your Salsify instance and dropping that into the cell sheet.
Is there any aspect of it that, for instance, you have a lead item for a certain category, and now you need to take that and apply it to similar items? Does it do anything?
Yeah, what a great question. So we've got some interesting support for product families, parent-child items. We can also do what I call smart grouping, where we have, let's say, a collection of home furnishing items or different items that go together. We want to drop all of those into a cell sheet, or we want to save a design that we've done and apply that to another product. So those are all capabilities in the tool. Works with copy and with the whole template. So you could do it on a field basis, or you could say, I want this to apply to the whole thing. Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah. Please. Well, I've got a special, I like it. I like the directness. You got to come by the booth to find out, exactly. I think what I've learned is we have two models, a la carte or pay as you go, which I think is, if you got smaller volumes, is a great way to get started, sort of dip your toe in the water. And we have a subscription model, and we really try and make it cost competitive relative to whatever your existing workflow might be. So yeah, please come by the booth G6, and we'll set you up. Please. Thank you.
Are there a couple things that you've learned from that podcast from guests that would be relevant to today?
Well, I happen to know a couple of really great guests who have been kind enough. Thank you, Todd, for coming on the show. We do have a Beyond the Shelf podcast, which is great. I really did it out of personal interest. I wanted to do this during the pandemic because I missed sort of being able to see customers and partners in person. Beyond the Shelf, we've had Todd on, we've had Harvey Ma from Albertsons Collective, we've had many other really great guests, Brian Gildenberg, and Nicolai, of course, was on as well. So please give it a listen, 5 stars, and do that. But really, I do it because I just learned so much from the people that I get to interview on the show. So thank you. Yeah.
I do have a question in regards to 3D modeling. Amazon just recently changed how they're doing 3D images. It used to be like, we'll upload a zip file. Right. They'll take like a series of images and have that 360 spin. Now they're doing like inside your room, and they're requiring different types of image files. Do you support like 3D modeling?
Yeah, we're adding it to the product lineup, so we're kind of beta testing that with a few clients. That's usually how we start new workflows, so I'd love to talk with you more about that. I can kind of see the time that it takes in the current workflows, and also, frankly, the cost. And so I can see that there's tremendous efficiency we could bring to that. So if you're available, would love to chat with you and see if we can potentially pilot something with you. Yeah, it's great use case. Well, thanks everyone. We'll take one more if we've got time, and otherwise we'll let you head off to lunch. Anything else we can answer? Booth G6, in case I didn't say it enough times, and Nicolai, wow, thank you so much. Yeah.